started on our webinar. So welcome to our November Outspoken webinar. I'm really excited about today's topic and speakers. We are talking about maximizing your impact, crafting a winning Giving Tuesday or end of the year campaign. Now, before we get started, just a few announcements. I feel like everybody's probably used Zoom quite a bit by now, but just in case it freezes for any reason, you can just hop out of the Zoom and hop back in. Audio is going to be coming through your computer, so make sure that everything's good to go. You can hear, you need to turn the volume up and so on. Your mics are muted, so don't worry about that. If the screen freezes, again, you can just sort of refresh it, hop in, hop out. And we are going to be taking questions and comments throughout the entire webinar. So if you have any comments, drop them in our chat. If you have any specific questions, definitely put them into the Q&A widget there. I'm going to take all the questions and ask them to our panelists at the end of the webinar. So it's really helpful if you are as specific as possible with your question to a person, or instead of saying, oh, tell me more about this, halfway through the webinar, by the time the webinar is over, I'm not going to be sure what you meant. So just be as specific as possible when asking those questions, and we will get to all of them at the end. And here's, go back one. Here's our agenda for the day. So starting off with our introductions, and we're going to hop over into our best practice tips from Speak. We're going to hear from Lung Cancer Research Foundation, My Cup of Tea, and then take y'all's questions at the end. All right, and I am going to go ahead and introduce our panelists, who I'm so excited to have with us today. So we're going to start with Natalie at Lung Cancer Research Foundation. She began her 15-year career and holds a Master of Public Policy and Nonprofit Management from Loyola University in Chicago. Her early work with the City of Chicago Mayor's Office and several community nonprofits laid a strong foundation in annual fund campaigns, major gifts, and grants for her. She then transitioned into healthcare philanthropy in 2017, lending Ascension Health fundraising teams in Michigan and Florida, raising $6 million annually. Pretty impressive. Now she's the Senior Director of Philanthropy at the Lung Cancer Research Foundation, and she leads the annual fund program, the major gift efforts, and oversees signature events, all to improve lung cancer outcomes. She is a certified fundraising executive, and she brings strategic expertise and a commitment to transformative philanthropy. And then we have Mike Carpenter at My Cup of Tea. Now, he is the principal of Carpenter Civic Strategies. He has a diverse background in strategic communications, marketing, politics as an operative, appointed and elected government official, lobbying, and nonprofit management. He has served My Cup of Tea since 2017, first as a consultant, then as full-time director of marketing and development, and now as a consultant again. Since 2019, the sales revenue has increased more than 70% and accounts for more than 40% of all total revenue. Online sales comprise of 50%. Sales revenue up from less than just 20% a few years ago. Now, in his development role, Mike helps secure approximately $400,000 annually, and Mike and his wife, Marianne, have been married for 28 years and have 4 grown children. And then we have Kendra at Speak. She is our Vice President of Client Partnerships. She has nearly 15 years of expertise in marketing and digital storytelling. She oversees our client partnerships, just like with Natalie and Mike, and she assists in creating well-rounded strategies for our clients that grow their audiences. And she lives in Nashville with her husband and 2 boys. And then I am the Director of Agency Marketing here at Speak, where I've been for just over a year and a half. I come from a nonprofit background, working in a bunch of museums before I moved over to the corporate world and served arts organizations all over the country in things like development, membership, philanthropy, and technology. and I am very excited to be here. So thank you to you three for joining us today. Thank you for our audience for hopping on, and I'm excited to talk a little bit more about Giving Tuesday and end of year giving campaigns. So with that, I'm going to throw it over to Kendra to introduce you to speak and give us some best practice tips. So thanks all.
Yeah, thank you, Lee. Well, those of you, I know that there's some very familiar faces on with us today. I was excited to see some old friends join. So hello to those of you I've worked with before, but I've also seen a few new faces, which I'm excited about. So just want to give a really quick introduction to Speak. We spend our time working with meaningful partners. We like to say we don't really have clients, we have partners, because we do develop relationships with a lot of meaningful clients who are doing really meaningful work. So a lot of children's museums, public nonprofits, as well as private businesses, and excited to kind of share our knowledge across the space today and then hear from two of our awesome clients. We are a full service agency, if you're not familiar with us. So we do start with web design, and then we add on all of those marketing pieces. So today we're going to hit on some of the campaign pieces that are specific to Giving Tuesday, maybe even broader giving in general. But if you have any ideas for marketing campaigns or initiatives that you need, we are full service and would love to chat about that in the future. These are a couple of our fun clients that we get to work with. There's, like I said, I think there's some zoos here, there's some parks, there's some museums, some of our cultural attractions. But when it comes to what full service agency partner means, thinking outside of the box is kind of what we do every day. So thinking through SEO, thinking through social media, paid campaigns, billboards, posters, brochures, you name it, we are here to help you. So just a smattering of some of our services here. But let's get into the good stuff and talk about Giving Tuesday. So I want to run through a couple trends of what we're going to see in 2024. This is based on what we've seen in the years past. But then I do want to appeal to a larger kind of giving subject, not just Giving Tuesday. I think that a lot of these trends are things that can really carry on into 2025, and I'm excited to share those today. And then Natalie and Mike are going to walk us through kind of their giving programs and how they are thinking from Natalie's perspective of a national nonprofit to Mike's perspective as a local organization that is, trying to grow brand awareness beyond Memphis and beyond Tennessee. So excited to hear what they have to say. But let's start with looking at what we expect for 2024. This year's Giving Tuesday is just a couple short weeks away. It's a little crazy how quick it's come. So it is in December this year. We're going to see an emphasis on global collaboration. We're going to see digital engagement. If you've been on our last few Giving Tuesday webinars, we have said that over and over, and it seems like more and more digital platforms come every year. And so seeing enhanced digital, we see people go digital for the first time on Giving Tuesday pretty frequently. That will not be going away. But even more exciting, I think this year are some diverse ways to give back. When we think about the term giving, I guess Giving Tuesday, we automatically go to that monetary donation. But what we are going to see this year is that giving has that broader impact, right? We're going to be giving of our time, our resources, our skills, not just monetary donations. I know that we want those monetary donations. They help our organizations further their mission, but getting creative and accepting the giving that our patrons can help us with in multiple ways is a really unique thing to take advantage of this year. A couple stats here just to go over. Last year, U.S. nonprofits raised $3.1 billion. So if you're thinking, do people really donate? Oh yeah, they absolutely do. In 2024, the projected numbers are between $3.5 and $5.1 billion. So why not us, right? Let's get what we can for our organizations. People are out there giving and committing dollars every single year, and that number is continuing to rise, even amidst some economy worries. What we're finding for 2024 is that people around the holidays just still want to feel generosity. You know, they want to be a light in the world, and this is a simple way for them to get civically engaged, where maybe they haven't been able to the rest of the year. I think people start to kind of review the year and understand where they want to go for the next year. It's where we're setting intentions, right? And Giving Tuesday is just really ripe for capturing holiday spirit, and that philanthropy or donation minded or giving minded attitude. So we will see some big numbers this year. Global participation is also on the rise. I know several of the organizations on this list have some global reach. 34 million adults in the US alone participated in 2023, but Giving Tuesday globally is now celebrated in 85 countries. So that number continues to grow annually. We love to see a giving spirit just grow and grow. And so being able to see that it is growing beyond the borders of the US is awesome to see. And I think really important for those of you who are doing work in other countries, that it's not an insular message to just the United States. And then going back to that beyond monetary donations, engagement keeps raising when we're giving other options to give. So volunteering, that plays a huge role, and 23% of Americans 16 and older participate in formal volunteering. Now, formal means they signed up and they're in the system as volunteers. It's not accounting for some of the good that people are doing, you know, running 5Ks, fundraising money through other organizations. It's really just, hey, they're in our system and listed as a volunteer. Something else that sticks out to me here is it's a good way to engage a younger audience, 16 and older. You know, we often think 18 and older for all of our targeting audiences, but being able to really get our message out to a younger generation and a crowd earlier will have lasting impact on organizations. So I think there has been a shift to a broader definition of generosity and giving, and that is something to consider when you're making your plans this year. Let's talk about a couple trends. I've got 6 to run through with you, and then I'm going to run through a kind of a what I'm calling the Giving Tuesday think tank of, you know, a checklist of things you can be doing to make sure that you are ready for Giving Tuesday, but then ready for giving in 2025. So the first trend I want to step on is personalization. Giving Tuesday really is a personal experience for the giver. We've seen social media take this switch where people are loving DMs, they're loving text messaging, and being able to personalize a message and kind of give them a one-on-one chat or a one-on-one interaction is going to give us a lot greater reach. I know that sounds a little backwards, but it's not. We can tailor our communications in some really meaningful ways that reflect the interests and values of our donors. I know that Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, we just met with them at AZA. They actually have members that they visit in person. Every year they visit their members just to say thank you in person. That's a really unique way to gain loyalty and trust in an organization, is because they are knocking on doors. That's a lot for some of you, I know, but think personalized videos, personalized text messages, doing a Facebook ad campaign that goes after people whose birthday month is January, February, or March, and really just personalizing that content can help them feel really connected to your organization. So think about ways that you can connect with them one-on-one, but certainly just through some level of personalization. Second trend I want to cover is social proof and peer-to-peer. Asking others to fundraise on your behalf is a really powerful way to bring some authenticity to your campaigns. So if you have employees, if you have key stakeholders, maybe some well-known public stakeholders, having them make a post, go live on their story, and just ask for donations. These are really great ways to garner interest in your organization, whereas donors may not connect with them naturally. So seeing people in our own communities have a cause, have a heart for something specific, draws my interest, draws my intent towards that nonprofit. And so as you're thinking about who those people are, consider leveraging influencers and other brand ambassadors. And I think we'll see a big ripple effect this year of doing that. Another trend to look at, monthly giving programs. So especially around the holidays, I think if there is any hesitation in giving, it's probably around budgets, right? We are end of year. I know that we're in an election cycle. Hopefully, we're all feeling great about spending come next week. But the reality is, in an election year in this economy, those budgets are important. But giving people a way to give smaller gifts more frequently might be just the ticket to overcome those big donations flowing in. So maybe if you are asking for $200 donations, you could consider doing $10 a month or $15 a month. Maybe even saying sign up today and start giving in January, kind of delayed giving. I think that those are some unique things to offer because the idea is that people do want to give. And if you give them some ways to give that work within their own personal belief system, budget system, you're going to get some bigger traction. So long-term supporters are a great way to do that, asking them for just a smaller commitment with a longer time frame. And then non-traditional giving, we're going to see a lot of that. If you do not have Venmo hooked up to your giving system, I think that's first and foremost the one I would say go figure that out in the next couple weeks. But we are seeing platforms like the Giving Block make it a lot easier for people to use their cryptocurrency that maybe they want to offload. They can donate that. You can also ask for stocks or other assets. And I think that some of the financially savvy donors who maybe have been looking at the market and stowing away money in all these different kind of places, giving them those options is really appealing. So Venmo number one, but look into the Giving Block. Look at what that looks like with accepting cryptocurrency. If you can make that work, I think that there's some really unique opportunities to get more cash when we are accepting more forms of payment in that way. So my fifth trend is environmental impact. Now, that might not at surface level feel relevant to your organization, but the truth is it's really relevant to a lot of donors in America. Understanding that you are going to great lengths to minimize your carbon footprint as an organization, to waste less, any way that you can show your environmental impact of your organization is important. And that's a key message to use in any of your giving initiatives this year. Whether you're talking about climate action, conservation, reducing supplies used, maybe you're trying to take something digital, being able to connect to another issue that people care about, such as environmental impact, helps people feel more connected to your organization. So I think we're going to see that from a lot of national nonprofits. Maybe they're getting rid of paper, maybe they're not doing the direct mail this year, but they're going digital. I think we're going to see people point that out a lot more. I know that when we connect with cultural attractions, that's certainly a big initiative for people. And I think we'll see that across all sorts of nonprofits this year. And then maybe my favorite trend that I'm excited to see is collective impact. So if you consider if you are a local organization that attends to the needs of the unhoused community, of hunger, food insecure community, imagine how you can partner with another nonprofit to have a collective impact. So maybe you partner with a dental organization that offers free cleanings, or maybe you partner with a housing company that is raising funds to build houses for the unhoused. If we can look at where our collective impact could be that's relatable to your mission, I think we're going to see greater giving. A couple things here. One, we can reach a broader audience because we can tap into the partner organization's audience. But two, we can join forces and create a bigger good. And I think that we will see that, especially with those big nonprofits this year, but certainly within our local communities. I'd love to see, local theater groups connect with other local arts-based nonprofits. Basic services, I mentioned, the opportunities are endless. There's a few ways to do that, and I'll get to those in the think tank. But I think collective impact campaigns can be really powerful this year. As far as channels go, we have your website, your social media posts, SMS and texting, if you have that, and email. Those are the ones you can't miss out on. This second column over here is kind of that amplified version. So tapping into partners, influencers, paid social. Hopefully we have a little bit of budget that we can spend to broaden our reach. Direct mail and traditional, those are all great ways to consider getting the word out. So when you're developing your strategy, I would focus on these 8 channels. There's, hundreds of channels out there, but I think that if you can have a good strategy in these 8 channels, you could be really powerful. So I want to run through those in kind of a lightning round. We'll for sure send the recording out, and there's all sorts of room to brainstorm on these, but I want to do a little think tank for those 8 channels of good, better, and best. So let's get rolling, and then I'll hand it over to Natalie. Website. So a good would be to have a page on your website, just a normal page. My example here is totally fake. I'm sure it will 404 if you go to it. Madebyspeak.com/Giving Tuesday. That's okay. That's great. If that's all you can get done, have a page on your website that has specific content to this year's initiatives and giving related messaging. Now, to make that better, let's add a pop-up to your homepage that drives people to that. Let's include that link in all of your other online mediums. So your email, your social, make sure people are using a Give Now CTA and driving them to that page. And then our best, if you really want to knock it out of the park, for your website, a curated landing page for the giving season that has a custom URL and giving options and immersive experiences that will enhance the whole giving experience. So to contrast with madebyspeak.com/Giving Tuesday, maybe we're talking about a www.speakgives.com. This would be completely separate from the site and really be action oriented towards giving. So these are 3 ways to engage your website: good, better, and best. Let me run through social media posts. So good, what I hope everyone has is some planned content leading up to the day and throughout the event day. Maybe if you haven't started now, start now, 1 or 2 posts a week. And then, throughout the day, maybe 3 to 4 posts, especially when there's nonprofit organizations. I think people are way more willing to hear from them on a huge holiday like Giving Tuesday. So several posts that day. That's good. If getting to better would be to have some interactive links, some stories, maybe some posts about what's happening during the day. Like, hey, we brought our staff donuts because it's a big day and we want them to have a great time. Show activities throughout the day, show progress. Hey, it's 4 p.m. and we are 80% of the way to our goal. Let's go, let's go. Those kind of things. That's a better experience. Now, best experience would be to utilize the tools that the social media platforms offer. Think countdowns, think going live, maybe tagging those partner organizations, doing shared posts with them, as well as curated posts. So maybe have 2 strategies, right? One that's planned and scheduled, and then one for the content you're going to capture throughout the day. Really giving someone a full experience about what's happening behind the scenes of your organization. That's our best here. On texting, good, send out a mass text. Let everyone know, hey, we're here. We would really love your participation in Giving Tuesday. Better would be to segment it for key donor audiences. Do you have a specific message that would resonate with moms versus dads, or grandparents versus first-time parents? Think about how you can segment your audiences and give them slightly different messaging. Best would be that personalized one-on-one text inviting you to join a mission critical give opportunity. I saw the chat going off with texts that you're getting in the political season, but same kind of thing. One-to-one outreach. There are systems out there that help you match name to number and give you an advantage when you're saying, hey, Mike, I would love the opportunity to talk to you more about this Giving Capital campaign. When can we connect? That one-to-one is best case scenario for getting people engaged with your organization. On email, send an email. That's your good, right? Everyone on this call should have an email going out to their audiences on Giving Tuesday saying, hey, we're a nonprofit. We'd love if you would spend your dollars with us this Giving Tuesday. Better, let's do a 2 or 3 week drip automation leading up to Giving Tuesday. Let's share the mission. Let's talk about the impact of donated funds and how important they are. Let's talk about where the organization is and where we want to grow to. That's the better here in this instance. Best, integrate video links. Show them. Don't just say it. Show them through engaging video, personalized messaging to key donors, and ways to get involved. Hey, we have an open house. We have this holiday product that you could purchase that goes back to us. Show them other ways beyond just the Giving Tuesday to get involved. That will keep them coming back for more, keep them engaged with your brand, and have a bigger impact. partners and influencers. One, ask them to share what you have. It's really easy to hit share, hit add to my story, and share your post. That's the good. Better, this is where we want to tag and joint post those partner organizations to extend your reach. So maybe the Lung Cancer Research Foundation wants to partner with a running or walking group. Doing a joint post that is planned ahead so that they have time to approve it on their end will expand that post to both organizations' followers and broaden your message quite nicely. And then the best here would just be to do compelling custom messaging, have your influencers make a couple stories where they're talking about why your mission is so important to them, and really have a personalized influencer approach to having them share their stories. We're rounding third here. Paid social. Good. If you have really limited budgets, boost the posts that are performing well. You can add $50, $100 to a post and expand the reach. Definitely recommend doing that on Giving Tuesday. The better would be to have a 1 to 2 day, maybe a week campaign that directs to the giving options, targets your key audiences, and really has some strategy behind it. But then best, I think, would be a well-rounded budget that asks for donations, has several different ad formats, including carousel. We see a really big lift when a retargeting ad uses a carousel format or a video format. So, creating some assets ahead of time, that's our best here when it comes to paid social. And then traditional, good, update your community calendars, your outreach organizations, the ones that are championing you along the way. Give them an update that you're accepting donations and what it's for Giving Tuesday. Better would be to do a direct mail piece. Look at zip codes that are important to your donor audience. Maybe use a QR code so they can immediately convert right through their phone. Or look at media buys that highlight missional messaging and giving calls to action. So this is a little more of your typical strategy for traditional media, but I do think it can be done really well, specifically for Giving Tuesday. I know the Nashville Rescue Mission does really good direct mail where they're like, hey, can you give us a few dollars because you're going to buy a meal for someone on the holidays. Very compelling, very easy to convert, and has a good impact there. I immediately know what I'm getting with my donation. Best would be earned media outreach for special Giving Tuesday initiatives. So are you having an event? Get the news crews out there. Look at what you're doing for end of year. Is that compelling? Is it worthy of some earned media? Reach out to your bloggers, your news teams, your radio stations. Share that information and kind of make a well-rounded PR initiative towards your Giving Tuesday campaigns. And lastly, don't forget to say thank you. Following up, letting people know how successful your campaign was is really important. Asking them for more or other ways to get involved, telling them what they can do now that they're a part of your mission. Now they're connected to you, and what does that mean? Share the success with them. Were you trying to build a building in the spring and in March it launches and is beautiful? Send them pictures of that. You can recall months and months later, your giving made a big impact on us, and here's how. So don't forget to engage people after Giving Tuesday, thank them, and give them more to chew on so that they become an ingrained part of your organization. I saw some questions pop up, so we'll get to those, but I'm going to pass it over to Natalie to share a little bit more about Lung Cancer Research Foundation. Natalie?
Great, thanks, Kendra. I'm Natalie, and you're going to bear with me here. I am coming off of a cold, so I'm losing my voice a little bit, but we're going to see how it goes. So I work for the Lung Cancer Research Foundation. There we go. And our mission is to improve lung cancer outcomes by funding research for the prevention, diagnosis, treatment, and ultimately cure for lung cancer. It's really important fundraising for lung cancer because lung cancer receives far less funding than all of the other cancers, regardless of the fact that it has the highest mortality. 1 in 16 people will face a lung cancer diagnosis. And as the Senior Director of Philanthropy, I make sure that through major gifts, our annual fund, grants, all the things, we have enough funding to fund all of the great researchers across the country that are trying to make a difference. And I just put a photo here of my friend Caroline. She and I are the same age. We live very similar lives. We both have never smoked a cigarette, yet she has stage 4 lung cancer and I don't. And so there's a lot of young women who are getting lung cancer who have none of the risk factors or behaviors that you would think goes with lung cancer. And so that's why I do what I do. So just to share that little piece with you all. So to go into Giving Tuesday and end of year. So the first thing that I want to say is that it's also okay to not do Giving Tuesday. I have worked in past organizations where we put all of our efforts into end of year and maybe did a post or two on Giving Tuesday, but it wasn't its own entire campaign. We didn't have the staff for that, or we were in a type of market that was really competitive on Giving Tuesday. And so we just threw our efforts into later in December. Things to consider, it does have increased visibility. So depending on if you have a really active social media or you have really great email open rates, then absolutely take advantage of Giving Tuesday. For us, it's also a year-end primer, I call it. Our year-end givers get all of the Giving Tuesday asks, and it's just kind of one more touch point leading up to the holiday season to prime them to give a gift at the end of the year. And then just to consider staff time, whether you want it to be a small campaign or something more heavily involved. This year, we do have an entirely separate campaign for Giving Tuesday with a separate patient story. And it has a lot of different components in addition to end of year, but that's only because I have the staff to do so this year. So I'll also mention that while this is sort of focused on marketing, I am a fundraiser and I will tell you I don't know anything about marketing. And so my little piece of this presentation is going to be a little more focused on the fundraising aspect. And so hopefully you can take some of these tidbits back to your gift officers. Last year at LCRF, our Giving Tuesday accounted for almost 20% of our annual email revenue. So it was a really good chunk. Our end of year was almost another 60%. So we're doing almost all of our email revenue in the last 6 weeks of the year. Makes budgeting a little hard, but it's a really exciting time of year to take advantage of these marketing opportunities. Our end of year mailing, I'll talk a little bit about our direct mail piece. It's our only mailed piece a year. We only do one per year. And in total, all of those different elements raise about $85,000 to $95,000 for LCRF in December. So for Giving Tuesday, we do 4 emails with corresponding social posts. We do a week before, day before, and then a couple on the day of, and a thank you. We choose a patient story, and the ask is from their perspective. It's not from LCRF, it's from whosever patient story it is. So on the right here, you see a picture of a family. That's Jill and Al. Al has lung cancer, and we sent out some emails from Al. And then this one, you'll notice at real small at the bottom, it says, thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's from Leah. That's Al's daughter. So our Giving Tuesday campaign reached out on behalf of the daughter of a lung cancer patient asking for donations. And switching that perspective can help those reading it resonate a little bit better who have faced lung cancer themselves in their own families. For our digital end of year, so a couple weeks later, we do another round of primary ask emails leading up to the end of the year. We have a few It's Your Last Chance countdown emails that happen on the 31st. And all of those have corresponding social posts. And then we also have a direct mail piece. Direct mail is not dead. I keep hearing that phrase in different webinars. I don't believe it. We do really well with our direct mail. And I also think that sometimes you'll think that your direct mail isn't doing well, but your email's doing great. It might also be that that direct mail piece sat on someone's desk and they happened to give online, but that direct mail piece was part of why they gave. And so we'll always continue to do it. For those of you on the line who are more gift officers and want a little more of the weeds of how we do it, our drop date is pretty early. It's November 15th. We like to get it in homes just before Thanksgiving, which is a little bit earlier than other organizations do, but we've seen that to be helpful. We send it to about 12,000 people. It's just one sheet with suggested giving amounts. New this year, we're joining our a resounding group of nonprofits who are no longer putting an area to fill out your credit card information. People are pretty much understanding that you shouldn't be putting your credit card information in the mail. And so we use that real estate for something else and instead put a QR code and a link. If they want to use a credit card, they can do so online. This is an example of last year's end of year piece. You can see again, it's from Al. It's not from LCRF. We've just found that resonates more with our donors and patients who read the stories. And all of our campaigns have a unique link that you can go to donate. That helps me as the fundraiser be able to track how these campaigns are doing. We use matching gifts for both Giving Tuesday and end of year. They really do work. For us, they increase our revenue by about 140%. So definitely worth it. Talked about a few of these things. We always use a PS at the bottom. Oftentimes people are not going to read the whole letter, but their eyes will track to the PS pretty quickly. So use a PS and say one last "please give today" type of message. We also connect, so the patient story that's in the ask, they'll have a landing page with story and photos. And so when you go to give, it's a seamless theme. If Al is the story on the piece of mail you got, it's also the story that we're highlighting in the email. And when you go to donate, it's his photo. You get a thank you from him. It's all very seamless in the storytelling aspect. We've also, I've in the past done non-monetary Giving Tuesday challenges. So we've done things like, we of course want you to donate, but if you also, we want to get 100 people to subscribe to our newsletter, or we want to get 200 more Facebook followers. So those types of things can be fun to use Giving Tuesday for. This is just one more example of a campaign where the letter is from Wendy, a lung cancer patient. And when you go to donate, there's a whole story about her lung cancer journey, and there would be a pop-up asking for that donation. I spoke about a couple of these things. We use suggested giving amounts. We normally give 3. We base that off of HPC, or highest previous contribution. We do a model of 1, 1.5, and 2. So if your last gift was $50, your suggested giving amounts will be 50, 75, and 100. We also have a different sort of model for lapsed donors. If you're trying to recapture donors that maybe haven't given in a couple years, we use slightly less suggested giving amounts to try to recapture them and bring them back into the fold at an easier price point. I'm also often asked about live versus nonprofit stamps, using the indicia, using a live stamp. We separate out the highest levels of giving, and we spend money to have live stamps on about the top 750 people, and the other 11,000 people we're using that nonprofit indicia for. We do not have an annual report at LCRF. We do, but we don't mail it out traditionally. And so we use some space this year on the back of our direct mail piece to give some of those big highlight items of 2023 and 2024, what we've accomplished, because we're not mailing them an annual report. So we were able to, within the end of year letter. Lastly, Kendra touched on this, but thanking donors, very important. Whatever story we highlighted for the ask, we also highlight again in the thank you. So while the actual tax form is obviously from LCRF, we say thank you for giving and joining Al in his journey, and we call back to that storytelling. We also have had people like Caroline do little videos. So when you get your thank you email, there's a little video from her thanking them directly. And I love handwritten thank you cards, and I write 1 million of those every December. So I think that's it for me. Thank you.
All right. Great. Thanks, Natalie. That was just a ton of really helpful information all packed in there. And just in case we get questions, we will be sending out a link to the recording and can include some of the statistics too in our follow-up email, because that was some really great stuff. All right, and with that, I'm going to pass the mic over to Mike. So thanks so much, Natalie.
Thanks, Lee, and what a lot of great information from Natalie and Kendra. Let me say that from a Giving Tuesday standpoint of the various channels that Kendra talked about, we do most of those and probably at the good level, certainly not at the better or the best. And I'll mention that shortly, but we don't put a lot of emphasis on Giving Tuesday, and I'll get into the reason why, but I want to give you a little background on who we are, which will help make a little sense out of that. So My Cup of Tea is an organization that is established in the Orange Mound community of Memphis. And Orange Mound is one of the depends on who you ask, if it's the oldest or one of the oldest African American neighborhoods built specifically by and for African Americans. And there was a time when it was similar to a Black Wall Street, in that it was a thriving community with lots of businesses, a high rate of home ownership. And then over the years, the community has been ravaged by crime and gangs and drugs and poverty. And so what we do is we provide jobs to women who make up the majority of the population in Orange Mound, and most of them are single mothers or grandmothers raising children. But we provide jobs for them, packaging and selling high quality tea that we import from the Far East primarily. And so we're a social enterprise. And as Lee pointed out in the introduction, about 60% of our revenue is from donations, and the other 40% comes from the sale of tea and related products. So we go to the next slide. So to give you an example of our size, and I know we've got folks on the phone that are much larger organizations than this. Certainly Natalie's organization is larger, but we have about a $700,000 annual budget. As I said, 60% of the revenue comes from donations, 40% from tea sales. Our primary customer demographic is primarily women between the ages of 40 to 75. Most of them are upper middle income and affluent, though we have customers in all 50 states, though to put a finer point on it, some of those states we have one customer. Just earlier this year, rather, we finally got South Dakota. We have one customer in South Dakota. We're very excited about that. So now we have somebody in all 50 states. But most of our repeat business is in our tri-state area, which is, if you're familiar with the geography of Memphis, we're on the southwest corner, and so we touch Arkansas and Mississippi. So Tennessee, Arkansas, and Mississippi is where most of our repeat business comes from. So generally how we raise money is we get about 15% from corporate, government, foundation grants, and then individual donations broken down through our Sustained Giving program. Kendra mentioned Sustained Giving for Giving Tuesday, which is something that we've highlighted during Giving Tuesday. One of the things about our Sustained Giving program is that we call it the blend. It starts at $10 per month. And one of the things that we've seen is we haven't added a lot of donors since we started it, but we've seen virtually every donor actually increase the amount that they're giving monthly. So once they get comfortable with it and continue to support our mission and the work that we're doing, then what we found is that they voluntarily increase their donation. One-time online donors make up about 18%. And then our annual report, which I'm going to talk about in a second, is about 20% of the funds raised. And then what I'll call our angel donors make up about 41%. So that's primarily our founders and a couple of others who right now are helping sustain us as we grow that sales revenue and try to become sustainable and rely more on sales revenue than donations. So related to Giving Tuesday, there's several reasons that we put less emphasis on Giving Tuesday, and one of those is because we're sort of all focused on end of year giving. And one of the things that works the best for us is our annual report as a fundraising tool. And you're getting a sneak peek of the cover of that. It hasn't even gone to the printers yet. And I will tell you, also tell you that I actually lay out the annual report using Canva. I'm not a graphic designer. That's on purpose. It's by design. We employ or contract with graphic designers to do work for us in terms of designing our tee boxes and those things. But for this, we want to keep costs down, of course, and we want to we don't want it to look too expensive, to be honest. So what we have found is that the typical annual report is not going to raise a lot of money. So we don't spend a lot of time talking about revenue. We don't spend any time talking about cost or numbers of customers. What we've learned over the years is that we sell tea and we drive donations through telling the stories of the women that we serve. And so I think both Natalie and Kendra alluded to that and in the information they presented. And what we try to do in this annual report is try to balance hope with need. So, we don't want to say everything is terrible, we're not making any progress essentially, and we really need your help. Or that everything is just great and we're doing so well, we don't need any help. So we try to balance that, obviously, honestly and ethically, but because there's always a need, but there's always a sign of hope with the women we work with in the neighborhood we work with. Our list is carefully curated, as I'm sure all of your lists are as well. When I say carefully curated, and in this example, we're talking about 400 donors who have consistently given to us, who may have a relationship with our founders, who we feel very strongly will give something during that time. Obviously, everybody doesn't give, and it's not we're not getting 50% return or anything like that. But these are folks that typically write checks and write them in pretty substantial amounts, at least from our standpoint. And we do this hard copy. I agree 100% with Natalie that direct mail is not dead. I think there's so much digital that your messages get lost, and also I think our demographic likes to hold and touch the annual report and read it like a book or a magazine, and so that's been successful for us. We provide a short but substantive narrative. You can see sort of what a page looks like. That's our theme this year, is sort of connecting the Far East with the city of Memphis. And so each page alternates between images of tea in the Far East and images of our community. That's Bretta there, who's been with us now for 9 or 10 years, and doing the work that we do every day. And so a lot of our donors know Bretta. Either they've been to the house, or they've seen her annual reports, or they've seen her featured in social media. So one of the things that we want to do with Bretta is talk about the progress that she's making in becoming more financially self-sufficient, some of the challenges that she's had over the last year, but how she's addressing them and overcoming them, and then what we're doing to assist and help her. And so and we do that with all of the women. And I should say, at one time we employ somewhere between 11 and 17, 18 women at a time. We've served well over 100 in our time, as well as their families. But right now, based on our sales, that's about our capacity. So we're able to feature each woman in the annual report. As I said, we align that with end of year giving. Also, like Natalie, we like to get ours out right before Thanksgiving. Even if even if it hits the mailbox, people go out of town. It's there when they come back and they're going through the mail, and it stands out. And so so we found that to be effective as well. It only costs us about $4,000 to print and mail this. So we do it pretty cheaply. Hopefully it doesn't look cheap. We don't think it does, but we do it cost effectively. And as I said, our list is pretty small compared to the 12,000 that Natalie mentioned. But when compared to the overhead of events, as all of you who do events know, and which we always laugh that our community tends to be sort of an event-driven kind of community. If we're trying to raise funds locally, people, even if they don't come, people like to sort of have an invitation and be offered a cocktail. We typically don't net a whole lot out of those things, and so we really like that this is pretty low cost in terms of when compared to what we actually raise. And so this is our ask page, which looks like a lot of copy. It's when it's 8.5 by 11, it's not too bad. But one of the things that I like to do is give 4 to 5 options for ways that people can give. So I like to give a specific project that we're working on. In this particular case, it's expanding our gardens and our greenhouse because we eventually want to do a small farmers market in the neighborhood, both to address food insecurity, but also to sort of attract more neighbors into our neighborhood watch effort in the community. Operation is our primary need all the time, because our number one expense is the wages of the women that are working there, and so we want to obviously be able to continue to pay them, continue to offer hours. And so operations is there. Our sustained giving, as I mentioned, which is our monthly donor program. And then in our case, we have an emergency fund. Periodically, there's one of the things that we've learned is the fastest way to just cripple someone who is starting to get their financial sea legs and be able to, and starting to manage a budget a little bit and be able to pay their bills on time is something like a car repair or a major medical emergency. I mean, it just sort of takes the knees out from under them. And so that's what our emergency fund is for, is to sort of meet some of those needs. And then we are a faith-based organization. And so we always want to give an opportunity, as has been pointed out here, for folks who maybe can't give this year or give as much, to do something else for us. So in this particular annual report, we're asking for prayer and giving folks the opportunity also to volunteer. The primary way to volunteer for us is that we provide lunch daily to all of the women there, so 5 days a week, and that's all provided by volunteers who make home cooked meals and bring those in. Yeah, so what about Giving Tuesday? I mentioned that some we participate, but with what I would call minimal effort. We will do an email, we will do SMS, we'll do social media, and because we definitely don't want to leave money on the table, and also because we're appealing to a demographic that's probably our smallest demographic, which is younger people in our case, and so we who tend to be, at least in my experience, tend to be a little more driven by Giving Tuesday than our typical audience. We have not, in recent history anyway, put any money behind paid social, but we do organic. And so I think part of what you have to do, of course, is consider your demographic, consider how much competition. That's another thing. I mean, we're in the backyard of St. Jude, who in the best way, sort of sucks all the fundraising air out of the community for Giving Tuesday. It's a fantastic cause, and everybody wants to give and be a part of St. Jude. But there's a lot of competition around us to get seen and heard. And then can you tell a compelling story as part of your Giving Tuesday appeal? We think we can. But do we have the ability to cut through a lot of the other messaging that's going on that same day?
Awesome.
Right.
Thank you, Mike.
Hey,
Yeah.
one thing I forgot to mention, I should have put it in the presentation, and I'm sure somebody might ask, is that we typically raise anywhere between 80 and $120,000 from our annual report. I forgot to mention that, and so that's why we put so much emphasis on it.
That's great. Thanks so much for sharing, Mike and Natalie. I know we're close to our time, so we'll hop into our first panel question and then open it up to the audience. I had a few sort of come in on a private channel, so I will ask those, but let's go ahead and start with a panel question. All right. So this is for Natalie and Mike. What would be your biggest tip for anybody who is looking to revamp their giving programs? One best tip for someone.
I will just say that. So at LCRF, we have something called the giving circles. Everybody's are a little bit different, but I'm sure a lot of you have societies, circles, whatever you want to call it, for the different levels of giving. And we are doing a huge revamp for our giving programs for 2025, where we're really investing in what are the benefits that people want to be a part of these different programs. And then what we'll do is, as people join through gifts to things like Giving Tuesday and end of year, we'll start doing renewal mailings, and you don't want to stop being a member, upgrade to the next membership. And so using those types of belonging to different groups has been helpful for us.
I think I would say a couple of things. If your board of directors is not actively involved in fundraising or giving themselves, start your revamp there. And we're actually sort of going through some of this right now. We have some great folks, but you need your board of directors to be engaged in fundraising, and so that's where I would start.
Yeah, one of the biggest kind of lessons I learned working at different nonprofits and assisting with philanthropy and development was that everybody on your staff was in development, not just the director of development. So when you treat all of your board members, staff members, even your members as fundraisers, then you have a much larger team. It's a good call out there. Next question we have is, what has been your most successful marketing tactic in regards to your giving campaigns? And it's funny, there is so much overlap between kind of development and marketing departments that I feel like a lot of people don't realize, and it's important when they kind of work hand in hand. So again, Natalie and Mike, any successful tactic? I know you both said print is not dead, so that's very important to note, but what else you got for us?
We've been successful with, I mentioned, theming our campaigns and keeping that theme throughout, so that there's sort of a seamless transition between an ask on paper, an email, a social post. It's all kind of a part of the same journey. And I've had people, a year later say, "Oh, how's Caroline? I read her story last year and I made a gift. How is she doing?" And they really feel connected to the stories.
Good.
Yeah, I would say for us, it's been our email blast email, our email e-newsletters. What I'm trying to say, that we do every couple of weeks, and I promise Kendra didn't ask me to say this, but actually Speak Creative helped us get the put that template together. We have a template that works really well for us. And we get about a 40 to 42% open rate. And in our case, we're driving sales more than sales of tea and related products, more than donations, though we do get donations, but that's been really strong for us.
Awesome. Love to hear that. I had a question come in specifically around kind of the agency side and how an agency can assist in fundraising efforts. So I'm going to punt this one to Kendra, and kind of echoing what Mike just said there.
Yeah, I would love to answer that. I think an agency really helps just with messaging. I think that, Mike I'll use My Cup of Tea as an example, worked with them for several years. Mike is really, really close to the heart of the organization and provides a lot of the emotional impact that we could not develop on our own. Where we can come in as an agency is to provide the who do I need to appeal to? You know, is it moms? Is it affluent women? Is it shopkeepers, local boutique owners? And I think that kind of bringing that data into the heart of what Mike is doing is important because it helps us create our best messaging. You know, as someone who loves the mission of My Cup of Tea, I want everyone to donate. And I think everyone should feel just as compelled to donate as Mike feels or as people on his team feel. But our data and kind of our goal is to get that right messaging in front of the right people. Who's it make most sense for, and who's going to be the most compelled to donate. So I think that layer of data is important because the heart is so important, but we can expand it by getting it into the hands of the right people.
Awesome. Well, we are unfortunately a little bit over our time, so we are going to have to wrap it here. But I do want to thank our panelists, Kendra, Natalie, and Mike, so much for hopping on here and really sharing your expertise about Giving Tuesday and end of the year giving. It was really interesting hearing your perspectives on whether you should focus super strongly on Giving Tuesday or more kind of end of the year. And you both had amazing statistics to share, good tips and tricks. So I super appreciate all of you all for being here. And I want to thank our audience for attending live. This was great information, and we'll be sure to send out the link to the deck and the recording in an email and do kind of a brief write up in blog format of all the good information shared here today. I also want to plug, we have a Giving Tuesday guide on our resource page of our website. So if you go to madebyspeak.com/resources, it'll come right up. So if you want more information on how to craft a winning Giving Tuesday campaign, you'll find it there. So thanks all. I appreciate it. And happy Tuesday. And again, go vote if you haven't yet.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.